Hi, welcome back. So we are going to be getting into factoring quadratics, and if you watched my previous video, my intro to factoring quadratics, I kind of went over the puzzle method that we're going to be using, okay? So I want us to use the puzzle method, and that's what we're using in this video, okay? So let's go ahead and get into it. So I have this trinomial, x squared plus 3x plus 2. All right, so we're going to do this in a couple of steps. All right, so the first thing I'm always going to do is label what my A, B, and C is. Okay, so let's determine what our A, B, and C. So we know our A is going to be here, our B is going to be here, and our C is going to be here. How we know that that's our A is because our A is always going to be the one that has the variable squared. And our B is always just going to have just like this plain variable. And then our C is going to be, you know, the number by itself. Okay, that's how we know. So we're going to have to determine our A, B, and C. Okay, so looking back at our problem, what's our A? There's nothing here, so we're going to go ahead and put in our imaginary 1 so you understand where I'm coming from with this. So our A is 1, our B is 3, and our C is 2. So our next step is we have to determine what A times C is. So A times C, okay? A is 1 times C is 2, and A times C, 1 times 2, is 2. So that's your A times your C. Now, we're going to go ahead and get into that puzzle method. All right? So we know we're going to have blank times blank equals, I'll just put a box here because this is your A times C. Okay? And then we're going to say blank plus blank equals, and I'll just put a box here so we know. And this is going to be your B. Okay? So our A times C is 2, and our B is right here, and that's 3, okay? And like I showed you in the other video, we need to find what the factors of 2 are. What two numbers can multiply to 2 that can add to 3? So let's kind of look at that. Let's write it off to the side. So I know 1 times 2 equals 2, and that's it. There's nothing else. And if I see that this is a 3, I know that 1 plus 2 would be 3. So let's try it. So 1 times 2 equals 2. 1 plus 2 equals 3. Perfect, right? So these two work. So these numbers are really key right here. These numbers, because what we're going to end up doing with these numbers is we're going to actually factor by grouping. So what I want us to do is look back at our original problem. We're going to keep our A. Okay, so this is what we're doing. We're keeping our A. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to write it right here. X squared. Okay. Now, our B was 3x, but really, our B has now, we're going to split it into 2 pieces. Our B is now turning into these two. So that's the point of these two. So we're going to write plus 1x, plus 2x, and then we're going to go back up here, and we're going to take our C. We're going to take our C, which is 2. And I'm going to write plus 2. So essentially, why we do this is because we're replacing our B with 2 pieces right here, so we can factor by grouping. Okay, so now I'm going to scoot down and we're going to factor by grouping. So I'm going to take this piece right here and write x squared plus 1x, and then I'm going to take this piece right here and write it over here, 2x plus 2, and I'm going to draw my ladders in for each of them, and we're going to go ahead and start factoring like normal. So what do these two have in common? They both have an x, And I know this one's the one with the smallest exponent, so I'm going to pull out an x. So x squared divided by x is x, plus 1x divided by x is 1. Okay? Now over here, what do these two have in common? This one has an x, this one doesn't, this one has a 2, but this one has a 2. We're going to pull out our 2. So 2x divided by 2 leaves us with an x, plus 2 divided by 2 is 1. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to combine our x and our 2. They're both positive, so we're going to say x plus 2 times, and these two match right here, x plus 1. Okay? I am going to go ahead and show you another example. I'm going to go ahead and erase my board, and I'm going to do another example. Okay? So, for the next example I'm going to show you is going to be y squared plus 12y plus 27. Okay? 27. All right? Our first step is to determine what our A, B, and C is. So don't forget, this one's your A, this one's your B, and this one's your C. So let's go ahead and write it. We don't have a number out here, so we're going to go ahead and put our imaginary 1. So let's go ahead and label our A, B, and C, which we did, and let's go ahead and write it here. A is 1, B is 12, and C is 27. Next step, we are going to figure out what A times C is. A times C. And A is 1 times C is 27, and 1 times 27 is 27, okay? And this is really important because we're about to do our puzzle method, okay? So we have blank times blank has to equal A times C, so I'll write A times C, and blank plus blank is going to have to equal whatever B is. So let's go ahead and start filling it out, okay? So our A times C we determined is 27, so I'm going to write 27 right here. And our B is right here, and it is 12, okay? Now, we need to figure out our factors of 27, you know, what two numbers can multiply to 27, but add to 12, okay? Let's go for it. So we know 1 times 27 equals 27, okay? Now 2 times anything does not equal 27, so we're going to start with 3. So 3 times 9 equals 27, and that's it. Those are the only two ones that can go into 27. So let's figure out which one we're going to use. So we know that these two will multiply 27, and we're trying to get it to add to 12. Which one can bring us closest to 12 just by looking at it? Okay, let's definitely look at 3 times 9. And 3 plus 9 is 12. So it works. Okay, so we're definitely using these two numbers. So 3 times 9 is 27, and 3 plus 9 equals 12. Now remember, these numbers are really crucial, and they really have to match, and they have to be accurate, okay? Because these two numbers are replacing our B. So now we're going to be factoring by grouping. So I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to take my A piece right here, keeping that one, and knowing in the back of my mind I'm keeping our C piece. So I'm going to write this down here. So we're going to say y squared plus And look, I have my 3. And remember, this is replacing this. So I'm going to say 3y plus 9y. Okay, because that's our, these two numbers are our new b. Plus 27. We're keeping our c. And then we're going to go ahead and get into factor by grouping, which we've already done before. I'm going to take this piece here and write y squared plus 3y. And then this piece right here, 9y plus 27. And I'm going to draw in my ladders and we're going to start factoring, right? What do these two have in common? They both have a y. The one with the smallest exponent's right here, so that's the only one we can take out. So y squared divided by y is y, plus 3y divided by y, the y's cancel out, and we're left with 3. And here, what do these two have in common? We're going to pull out a 9, because 9 divided by 9 would leave us with a y, plus 27 divided by 9 leaves us with a 3. And look, these two match, so let's go ahead and write our final answer. So we have y and 9, so we're going to write y plus 9 times y plus 3. So y plus 9, that's where we got these from, and the y plus 3. And that is your final answer.